If your house stopped receiving electricity tonight, how long would it stay livable? Not comfortable. Livable. A few hours? Maybe a day? After that, the temperature starts dropping or rising, the water pressure disappears, the systems you rely on quietly shut down, and the structure around you, your home, becomes something it was never designed to be. A shell, dependent, fragile. Now imagine a different kind of house, one that doesn't notice when the grid goes down, not because it has backup systems, but because it was never connected in the first place. No power lines, no gas connection, no monthly bills, and yet inside, the temperature stays stable, food grows along the walls, water flows from storage tanks, and everything continues working exactly as it did before. That house exists, and it has been working for nearly 50 years. In the early 1970s, during a period when energy shortages were beginning to expose the limits of modern infrastructure, an architect in the New Mexico desert started asking a question that most people weren't willing to consider. Not how to make buildings more efficient, but how to make them independent. Standing in a landscape filled with discarded materials, used tires, empty cans, glass bottles, he saw something different. Not waste, but structure. Not garbage, but potential. And from that perspective, he began building something that would challenge almost every assumption about how homes are supposed to work. The result was a completely different type of building. A system, not just a structure. Because that's what makes it different. A conventional house is passive. It requires systems, heating, cooling, plumbing, to function. Remove those systems, and the house stops working. But this design integrates those functions directly into the building itself. It heats, it cools, it collects water, it manages waste, all without relying on external infrastructure. And the way it does this is not complicated. It's based on physics that has always existed. The first principle is thermal mass. Most homes today are built with materials that are lightweight and easy to install, but they don't store energy. They react quickly to temperature changes. When it's cold outside, they lose heat. When it's hot, they gain it. That's why heating and cooling systems need to run constantly. Now replace those walls with something different. Thick, dense structures made from compacted earth. In this design, discarded tires are filled with soil and packed until they become solid units. These units are stacked to form walls that are several feet thick, and once they're in place, they do something most modern walls cannot do. They store energy. During the day, sunlight enters the building and warms these massive walls. But instead of heating the air directly, the energy is absorbed slowly into the material itself. Then, as temperatures drop at night, that stored heat is released back into the living space. The result is stability, not constant heating, but balanced temperature. And the difference is significant. Where a conventional wall might store a small amount of energy, these walls can store over 100 times more. That means instead of reacting to the environment, the building begins to regulate it. But thermal mass alone isn't enough, because you still need a source of energy. That's where the second principle comes in. Solar orientation. The front of the structure is designed to face the sun directly. But it's not just about exposure, it's about timing. In winter, the sun sits lower in the sky. That allows sunlight to travel deeper into the building, reaching the thermal mass walls and charging them with heat. In summer, the sun is higher. And the structure is designed so that overhangs block that direct sunlight, preventing overheating. No sensors, no adjustments, just geometry. The building responds to seasonal changes automatically. And then there's the third system, the one that transforms the interior space into something more than just a place to live. Inside the front of the structure is a greenhouse corridor. This is where plants grow year-round. But they're not just there for food, they're part of the system. Water from sinks and showers is directed into this space. Instead of being wasted, it's filtered naturally through soil and plant roots. The plants absorb nutrients, clean the water, and contribute to the internal environment. At the same time, they release moisture into the air, increasing humidity in dry climates. They absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen, and they act as a buffer between the exterior glass wall and the interior living space. This creates a layered system. Glass collects energy. Plants process water and air. Thermal mass stabilizes temperature. Each part supports the others. And then there's water. Instead of relying on external supply, the structure collects it. Rainwater is captured from the roof and directed into storage systems. Even in areas with limited rainfall, this can provide a significant portion of household needs. That water is then used multiple times, first for consumption, then for plant irrigation, and finally for outdoor use. Nothing is wasted, everything is cycled. And when you look at the system as a whole, something becomes clear. This isn't just a house, it's an environment. one that manages its own inputs and outputs. And that's why it works. Because instead of fighting external conditions, it works with them. Now here's where things become difficult to ignore. This system isn't new. It has been tested, built, and used for decades. Structures built in the 1970s are still standing, still functioning, still maintaining stable indoor conditions despite extreme weather outside, and yet you don't see them everywhere, not in cities, not in suburbs, not in most new developments. Which brings us back to the same question: why? The answer isn't about performance, it's about structure. Modern construction operates within a framework. Materials must be approved, methods must be standardized, systems must fit into existing categories. This design doesn't fit easily into those categories. It uses unconventional materials. It integrates multiple systems into one, and it reduces dependency on external services. That creates friction, because the entire industry is built around those services: heating systems, cooling systems, utility connections. Each one represents an ongoing relationship, a continuous flow of cost. This design interrupts that flow, not by adding something new, but by removing the need, and that makes it harder to adopt within systems that depend on continuation. But outside those systems, it continues to grow. In different parts of the world, similar structures have been built and adapted to local conditions. The core principles remain the same, but the details change based on climate, materials, and needs. And the results are consistent: stable temperatures, reduced costs, increased independence. Not because of advanced technology, but because of alignment. The building works with its environment instead of resisting it. And once you understand that, the concept becomes less surprising, because the physics behind it isn't new. Thermal mass, solar gain, water cycles. These are natural processes. The difference is how they're used. Most systems ignore them. This one builds around them, and that changes everything. Because it shifts the role of the house. From something that consumes to something that manages, from something that depends to something that supports. And that's the real idea behind it, not just efficiency, but independence. A structure that provides what you need to live without requiring constant input from outside. And while it may not replace every system in every environment, it shows something important: that the way we build isn't fixed, it's chosen. And different choices create different outcomes, because at the end of the day, the materials are available. The designs exist. The knowledge is out there. The only real question is whether you see it as an alternative or as a possibility. If this changed how you think about what a home is supposed to do, subscribe. Because the next system might change how you think about everything you build.